Cool. Well, listen, for those of you catching this podcast right about now, I will direct you to first time I chatted to Damien on the Screw It Just Do It podcast for the early story on how they got started, and just use this opportunity to catch up with you because you've got a hell of a lot that's been going on despite lockdown and everything that comes with it, with your fundraising, looking to launch in the US, etc. The first question to yourself, Damien, how are you doing as a business right now? How are you doing personally? You know, what has the last kind of 3 or 4 months been like for you? Obviously, I know you personally, know a little bit more, but thought maybe you could share that with our audience.
Sure. Well, that's a big question for us right now.
It is.
It's been an incredible four months of lockdown, both from a personal point of view, from a business point of view. It's been busy. So I guess I'll start with me first personally. Just as lockdown went on into happening, I was just about to start my fourth round of chemo-related treatment. And so I had all sorts of dramas around getting treated during lockdown in hospitals, and my treating hospitals, Royal Marsden Hospital in Chelsea, and they couldn't treat me there anymore, so they moved me down to Poole Hospital, and they had to dumb down my treatment. So that was a real challenge at the time, because the idea was that people in my situation, they're trying to keep you out of the hospital because we have absolutely no immune system, particularly as you're going through chemo, that they felt the risks are much higher to risk having you come into hospital and spending too much time in hospital versus dumbing down my treatment. So,
Right.
so there were some challenging times around that, but I've finished all my treatment now, and which is great. And onwards and forwards again. That was I've got up to number 78 now, treatment number 78.
Wow.
Over the last few years. So that's chemo, radio, and also 3 surgeries. So for me,
Yeah.
it's just another day in the office now. I'm quite used to it, and have no fear of it. It's just, as I said, just something I have to do. So,
Yeah.
but at the same time, in terms of the business, we had a hell of a lot going on at the business. So there's no time for the wicked, I guess. Even doing treatment, I had a lot to do with Mr. Lee's, and we had a launch that was just about to happen in America at the time, and we were about to start our production for that national launch in America, and our US or North American product is made in California now.
Okay.
And the day before we were about to start our US production, California announced lockdown. So we were like, oh my God, what does that mean for us? Are we going to be able to make our product or not? Fortunately, we managed to make our product in time, but we had challenges around that. And we launched across America nationally with Whole Foods markets in all their 500 odd stores across America, which was great for us.
Amazing. Yeah.
That was a really important partner for us. Whole Foods being who they are. They're kind of known here in the UK. There's obviously a few stores here in the UK, but in America, they are kind of the benchmark for premium quality food and drink brands in America. Yeah. And that for us was a great entry point into America. So, that whole launch and getting our product made in America and produced was really important. So when this whole COVID situation, came at us, it was like, oh my gosh. But then there were lots more challenges beyond that, because, a lot of our business is in the travel sector. We're on board a lot of aircraft and trains and hotels around the world, from the likes of EasyJet to Virgin to Vueling and so on. And, literally when the plane stopped and the train stopped, we lost almost 50% of our turnover overnight.
Was it that much? 50%, was it?
Yeah. It was a big chunk. And that was like, wow. And, I could see the train wreck coming as we were watching what was happening in Italy at the time. If you remember, in Europe, it was kind of the barometer for me. It's like, Italy, what's going on? It's coming this way. We got to get ready. So clearly, with the lockdown happening and people not being able to go out, travel, move around, go to work, it was clear for me and the business that we better get ready for online e-commerce, because that's where the action is going to be for the foreseeable future. So we scrambled to get all our fulfillment centers ready, our Amazon ready, and to have stock. But then Amazon ended up having its own issues and problems for a while. It was mayhem. But what happened for us by getting ourselves into a relatively good position for our e-com is our e-com business literally went up by 1,000%. I mean, I
Wow.
literally mean 1,000%.
Yeah.
It went boom. And that literally picked up all our lost travel industry sector and kind of balanced us out. So we were sort of flatlining. So that was really important for us to, you know, to watch what's going on out there, to get ready as best we could, to see where the damage was coming from, and try and, you know, sort of mitigate that damage through another channel. And I think, you know, that's a very important lesson for us as a business now, sort of to carry forward, is diversification in your business.
Yeah.
You know, you can have one big fat customer or a big fat sector or whatever it may mean, but there's some things that you just can't account for. You know, who would have expected COVID was going to have such an impact globally around the world? So the fact that we had diversified our business into different channels really helped the business to sort of, you know, come through it relatively unscathed. But again, in the middle of all that, as part of our US expansion and launch, we were also doing a crowdfund. So we did a crowdfund on Cedars, but then that whole crowdfund was planned pre-COVID. And, you know, there was about almost a 6-month build-up period for our Cedars launch. And when COVID came, we were like, wow, what do we do now? Do we hold this whole plan, because people are going to be panicking, people are going to be battening down the hatches, people are going to be holding on to their money, and looking at how the world's going to shape out. And but we thought, you know what, no, we're going to push on, we're going to push forward with our crowdfund. And I always say, one thing about being in food and drink as a sector, no matter what the crisis in the world, people always got to eat and drink.
Yeah, 100%.
No matter what. So we're kind of, if your food and how you are, we're an ambient product, we're kind of in the right place. So it's about how you communicate that, how we get it out, and you know, keeping your distribution and supply chains open was the challenge for us, because, you know, our product is the perfect lockdown food, to be honest. And and people were stockpiling us. And,
I was going to ask you that. Interesting. I thought, because I chatted to like Al Barrett from Grenade, and he was saying like people were bringing forward their orders by like up to 3 months, and then doubling and tripling the orders for like the Grenade products again, like during lockdown. And I thought of you guys, and I thought, I wonder if you were experiencing like similar spikes as well. Yeah.
So it was fantastic. Look, things have settled down now. I personally don't think we're out of the woods yet. You know, there's already talk in today's news in the UK that, you know, potentially there's an early second round coming, you know, across Europe, who knows? But we're certainly not out of the woods. That's a whole nother situation of its own. And, you know, we look at America, but we can't just look at America. We're in America now as a business. You know, we're in Australia as a business as well. Australia's having it's starting to spike again out there. So as a global business that Mr. Lee's is now, with, you know, operations in America, operations here in the UK, Europe, and operations in Australia for the Australasian market, we have to look at what's going on across the world now, and that's challenging in itself. You know, we're still a relatively small team and small business. But it's just keeping that mind open of, okay, you know, we've had the dress rehearsal, the big ones come, you know, could there be another big one, or could be another minor show, who knows? But regardless, we got to prepare. So again, during all of COVID, we also launched our new website, an e-com website. And again, that was a 6-month build plan prior to COVID anyway, that we were working on. But that put us in a very good place, because we've just launched that a few weeks back as well, which is now a much more robust e-com platform that's built for a global e-com market now. And we're quite happy with the new website and the robustness, and our fulfillment partners that we've now got ourselves around the world now that can now fulfill our product, and, you know, we can happily supply. Because when lockdown did come, we had a temporary website we were running our business on.
Right, I was going to ask you that.
And we were we were having all sorts of problems, and, you know, complaints. People were expecting the product still to be there next day. We were trying to explain, well, look, even our delivery partners, can't guarantee that anymore. So we had issues around that, and we certainly had our fair share of blood, sweat, and tears. But it's about keeping the team pumped, keeping the team pushed. We were in a good way that we didn't have to furlough anyone across the business, which was great.
Nice.
We were busy enough to keep the lights on and keep the team super busy. So great thanks from me to the team at Mr. Lee's. Did a great job on keeping the wheels turning.
Yeah, I know it, and I know a few of the team there. So, and we've been with you from the start, a number of them as well. So, it's, testament to the leadership, clearly, that they're still there and still rocking it for you. So, great job.
Lots of bribes.
So that was interesting. So then I was going to ask you that. So, and I chatted to, like I said, to Al Barrett from Grenade, Julian Hearn from Huel, and they were both saying, that they were up, when I spoke to them, about 300% with their e-commerce, but sounds like yours did incredibly well to go like at 1,000%. But the fact that you had to kind of cobble that together from an existing website, whereas you knew you had this e-commerce new website coming in the background, but I guess from your point of view, you think you want to rush that through, but you don't want to put something out there that's just going to crash immediately or going to have a load of inherent bugs in it.
Absolutely, and it was literally that. It was. Do we go now? Do we push the button now, or do we wait till we're absolutely in our heart of hearts know it's right? There were all sorts of bells and whistles that in the new website that we didn't have in our temporary website. Subscription and boxes and build a box and all these sorts of added features, etc. Loyalty points and so on. So we felt we could hobble through with the existing website until we got through to the main build, and that's what we did. And I said we're in a good place. And look, I'm absolutely convinced. The new world post COVID, and it's not post COVID, we're still in it, but the new world, let's call it, because consumer behavior has changed a hell of a lot since pre-COVID. How we think, how we shop, it's changing, and it's here to stay. And certainly we've seen our e-com business sort of drop back to lower levels than where it was, but a lot of our e-com now has stuck. So we've brought in new customers, new customers, repeat customers, and we've seen again, it's still a big bump up from where we were. But as I said, even though it's lowered, we've had a lot of stick, which was key for us. But I'm absolutely convinced for businesses now, if you're not doing it already, is you've got to look at your e-com model, because that's where the action is for the future. And the good part about having a good e-com platform and strategy for your business is that you're in control of your own destiny. You're in control of your own business. One of the biggest struggles through COVID for us, where we expected to see we expected the retailers to sort of be there and be ordering a lot more from us. And what we found is, as a smaller brand, that they weren't prioritizing us. Even though we were the perfect lockdown food in a sense, they weren't prioritizing us, and we couldn't understand why. And what we sort of, and we spoke to a lot of smaller brands as well. Said, guys, what do you? And they said, man, we're not hearing from our buyers. It's panic mode, and they're not buying. What's going on? And we're all trying to work out what's going on, because getting tumbleweeds at the end of the phone from the buyers. They're in panic mode. And what we found, and particularly Amazon at one point, was they were prioritizing what they called life-saving emergency products, that were important. Disinfectants, and they were trying to get their warehouses in shape, because it was just pandemonium in logistics centers around, not just the UK, everywhere. The big supermarkets were prioritizing the big household names that they just were no-brainers, simple, the big outfits. And the little guys were we were pushed way down the pecking order. So that was again another lesson for us, that it said, when the shit hits the fan, you're on your own in a sense. So that's why e-com is so important, because you're in charge of your launch, you're in charge of your messaging, you're in charge of your social, you're in charge of what people see and hear and so on, and to a relative degree to, you know, getting your product into people's hands. So yeah, so that's a big takeaway from us, is e-com is here to stay on a much bigger scale, and it's come a lot faster.
And interested to know, Damien, how many, you know, kind of ballpark do you think, reflecting back, were existing customers, and how many new customers do you think you attracted during that period as well? Did you attract a substantial number of new people, especially that subscription model? I always think is, you know, one of the best business models out there.
Yeah. So it's a good question. So we were just kind of looking at all our numbers just recently, and what actually, funny enough, just at the beginning of lockdown too, you may have seen I was on a reality TV show, Rich House, Poor House.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. We all watched it here, the family.
Bit of family entertainment, and that came. They aired that during lockdown. And it was actually on the Queen's speech. We were just after the Queen's speech. You couldn't have had a better moment, because the whole nation was sitting at home on a Sunday evening. The Queen's speech, she came on to do her talk to the nation, and then it was our episode just after that. So we had, you know, enormous viewership apparently of Rich House, Poor House. And so that was a great boost for us as well, where a lot of people that hadn't heard of the brand before suddenly were curious on the show. Who's this Damien Lee character? And by the way, there's a bit of product placement in this show as well. So let's go discover the brand. So actually, during the show, our website crashed. We had, I think, at one point, we had close to 10,000 consumers on our website at one point, which just crashed it. We didn't have enough bandwidth. But what happened is our online sales just went through the roof, and they were practically all new customers. And subsequently, all through Corona, I would say probably about 80%, I think it was the rough number, 80% of our consumers during that COVID period were new customers.
Amazing. That's amazing, isn't it? Wow. Substantial number. And it's subscription model. How long have you had that then, timeline-wise?
Well, we've only just launched it with the new platform.
With the new platform, got you.
Yeah, with the new platform. So it's early days. You know, let's speak again in a month or two, but early days right now.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, because I was like, that's great that you've kind of, you know, balanced that up, because as you said, you know, and I thought of you when I knew we were going to be chatting, was that, you know, I've seen your products on Southwest trains, you know, friends taking photos of them on, you know, Virgin Australia, you know, EasyJet, etc. See them on there. And I was chatting to Lord Billamoria from Cobra Beer, and I said, you know, you must be doing really well at the moment. You know, alcohol sales have gone through the roof. And he was like, no, we've literally lost 50% of our business overnight, because they're restaurants. You know, people aren't going in restaurants anymore. Yeah. So it's like, you know, literally having to just keep the sales staff on to keep trying to sell stuff, but equally, there's just not the demand there at the moment. So, and we thought of, when I was chatting to Al Barrett from Grenada, and he was saying, you know, thought of Richard Branson, because you think how many of his businesses, just about to launch a cruise ship business, just launched a hotel business, owns an airline, and you're like, geez, talk about having, you know, so many of your eggs in one basket, in one specific sector. Question that I've had a few people wanted me to pitch to you was, you know, the big spike there's been in wellness, and people looking more at self-care and looking after themselves and what they put into their body. Given, you know, and I totally agree with you, yours is like the perfect product for lockdown. How much do you think that, you know, wellness, we're literally just scratching the surface at the moment, that it's only going to exponentially grow and grow, and people are going to be more and more interested in what they put into their body?
Yeah. And again, a really good question, because I'm kind of quite big on this one, and been talking a lot to the team about this over the old COVID period. And look, I've been absolutely convinced that, and I'll talk first from our point of view, because it's relative to our product and so forth, and the US launch in particular at the time. I was absolutely convinced, because what's going on in America and around the world with COVID is that the president over there doesn't necessarily do the right thing, I believe, in terms of the way he doesn't bring people together, and he's ramping up, rhetoric of certain things, and he calls it the China flu or the China virus and so on. But he's the president, so people listen to that. Okay, certain people will listen to that. And for us, launching in America an instant noodle, okay, that no one's ever heard of the brand in America yet. Why would we be any different to any other instant noodle that's coming from China and Asia and so forth? We're just another one of those. And what I expected to be happening in America and elsewhere parts of the world is people were going to, for right or wrong, potentially shying away from products that come out of China. Okay, so products that you don't know what's in them. Okay, typically around an instant noodle, it's a lot of junk. All the reasons I made Mr. Lee's, nasties, nondescript ingredients, and so on. So it was really important that because consumer behavior is changing, that people are going to look for more transparency in their supply chain and their food chain. They want to know what they're wanting to eat. They are going to look at health more closely and so on. I think people are more than ever going to be more willing to pay extra for something that they know what's in it, and that it's a better for you product rather than eating junk. And the younger generation now are drinking less alcohol now, for example, and they're having, the world's changing and attitudes are changing massively. But what was interesting, because I just had this conversation yesterday, and I'll flip this over to Australia now. We're in one of the big retailers in Australia, and we were just talking to the buyer out there recently. And he said, it was really interesting because you were the only instant noodle on our shelves, and the healthiest one, that didn't see a massive increase in sales. It kind of, it was just sort of fairly, the curve kind of went like that, when some of the cheap and nasty typical brands, the junky ones, went like that.
Really?
And he said, what? He said, why is that? And I thought, well, that's a really good question. Why is that? And I can only put it down to and we all sort of collectively thought about this, the stockpile mentality at the time, where people were uncertain about their futures, their jobs, where the next paycheck's coming from. Yeah. But at the same time, they felt we need to stockpile food because we're not sure where we're getting the next meal from. So they did become very price sensitive.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. During this. So they started thinking, well, Christ, in Australia, we retail in Woolworths for $4 a cup. Some of our cheaper Sui Mins and the other brands are anything from 50 cents to $1 a cup. Yeah. Okay. So we can only assume that consumers were thinking, you know what, I can buy 4 of these Sui Mins for 1 Mr. Lee's, and I've got, at least 3 meals in a day here.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I have 1 meal with the Mr. Lee's, and I'm not sure if I've got a job anymore. So that had an impact for sure, where we would have thought at the time, people are going to want healthier. People are going to pay more for the healthier one. And it didn't happen for us over there on that sense. So it is a double-edged sword. Okay. Yeah. People, when they've got certainty in their life with income, a job, they're not, they're flush with cash, I think are willing to splash out on what we're talking about earlier, on proper food, real food. But when people are losing jobs, especially across America, in massive amounts, they're starting to think twice about a product that does cost more because it's got real food in it and it's healthier, and it doesn't necessarily always health doesn't always come cheaply. So it's a tricky one, because I know you, me, lots of people do want to eat better, and that's our intention. But when you're down there with your wallet and you're on the supermarket shelf and you're going, oh Christ, which one? A lot of people will still tend to go for the old one that they know that's cheap, and okay, it's probably not great for you, but I can get 5 of them.
Interesting, isn't it? Yeah, that those kind of early days where we saw people, panic buying, stocking up on, dried pasta and, toilet rolls and all those kinds of things that probably, like you say, a lot of name, non-brand names, like supermarket owned versions, which are like the cheaper versions and all that kind of stuff as well. So interesting. And what about, you mentioned earlier that the fundraising as well, which I think you blew your target out of the water in the end. Did you not?
Yeah. Well, again, that's another interesting one. we were going to initially do a bigger raise than what we put out on Cedars, and we actually lowered what we were looking to raise on Cedars because of the whole COVID situation. Because on Cedars, if you don't hit your target, you don't get any of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we thought, do we still go for what our original target, or do we lower our expectations considering what's going on, to make sure that we do get funded? And that's what we did. So we actually dropped what our original funding was going to be. I believe from memory, I think we hit 1.8 million pounds, but we blew through our target in the first, I think it was the first 7 days of our lowered target. It was amazing. So, you know, and that was kind of key to the messaging. I did a video at the time, and literally that day I did video. I just finished chemo the day before, and what we had set up to make a video, we had originally set a 4-day shoot plan. And because lockdown happened, we had to shoot the whole video in a day, in one day. I had just finished chemo because we knew we had to get it done because lockdown was happening. So it was kind of this video to try and get this message out about why Mr. Lee's is a great viable option. You know, COVID's coming, but you know this is a brand you should invest in, and it worked. So and you know we did well, and as I said, we hit our target in less than a week, and that was amazing. That was amazing.
Yeah. And can you, I'm trying to remember with Cedars, can you keep that going for a little bit longer as well, so that people can?
You can, if you choose to keep it going, you can keep the door open. We closed it down just after. We are actually doing for America and elsewhere. We are even doing another raise now.
Okay.
Which is an even bigger raise that we're in discussions now with, which are more strategic investment going on now, because we've got some big plans ahead. We've got our technology side of our business about to really kick off. We've got, you know, big launch stuff going deeper and deeper into the US. We've got a big potential influencer campaign kicking off for us in North America. So there's a lot still going on and bubbling behind the scenes right now. And we've got some pretty amazing conversations with some pretty amazing people going on now that sort of want to get into the brand. And we're just sort of going through that. So look, a hungry brand that's got global ambition, those fundraising conversations never stop.
No, I bet. And
yeah.
Wouldn't expect any different with, you know, all the stuff going on in the background, of course. Like, I always remember, you know, reading one of your posts saying, you know, you don't have time for cancer. And I thought, if there anyone who doesn't have time for it, it is you.
Absolutely. And it's, look, I mentioned just about our tech side of our business, because not everybody knows about that.
Tell us about that.
They're our noodle kiosks. I call them noodle kiosks. Other people call them vending machines. I've always said I hate that dirty word, vending. It's a dinosaur. Yeah. Our Mr. Lee's noodle kiosks are very different. They're intelligent. They're big. They're bright. 42-inch touch screens. They're colorful and they're engaging. And they make hot Mr. Lee's 24/7. So it injects the hot water in, so you can take your noodle away and have a meal ready to go. You can pimp your noodle with tamari soy sauce, chili oil. I'm looking at the world's first. I'm looking at now CBD, boosted noodles as well. You know, I've got the story around CBD. So that's the world's first. Alex, so
I've been taking CBD for the last 2 months.
Right. Okay.
So I'm interested. Yeah.
So well, look, I'm doing my plans are to do the first CBD infused noodle pots out there. Cool. I'm a big believer in it.
Me too.
Position as well. And so lots of really cool things around that. And we were launching with a great partner here in the UK, Moto Highway Services, which are, you know, the big highway services that you find around the country. So we've got our first pilot machines going into Moto. Are we in August yet? We're almost in August, aren't we?
Almost. Wow. Okay. Cool.
Sometime in August. We've got them in easy hotels at Heathrow at the moment, but again, that all shut down, and we're in universities. And we have also been recently, again pre-COVID, invited to tender for the NHS. And we to put Mr. Lee's noodle kiosks in all the NHS trusts around the UK, which is amazing.
That's huge.
So and they invited us to tender for that. We've just completed our tenders, and now we're just waiting the results of that. And should we be successful, we would then start placing our kiosks into NHS hospitals towards the end of the year onwards. So,
Wow.
so that's really
Good luck
exciting.
with that. That's incredibly exciting. That'd be huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, because I saw, and are they still, so I remember like the early versions, and you still got like a screen at the front of it there that can like play content and stuff like that whilst you're selecting your noodles.
We've got two versions now. We've
Okay.
got what we call our retail version, which we developed, funny enough, for America. We've got a couple of those units now out in America. We were working with 7-Eleven America to place those into the new concept stores and with 7-Eleven in the US, but then COVID happened again, so they're still in storage out there, deciding when we can launch those. And then the cashless, the big cashless ones, very different to the one you originally saw. But yeah, big, said 42-inch touch screens, very vibrant, very colorful. I'll send you some pictures at one point or a video. You actually go to YouTube, Mr. Lee's, you can see one of them on a video.
Yeah, we'll put that out when we promote the podcast.
Yeah. So look, we'll be the kind of the world's first doing something like this, and we've got new products that will also be going into it. We're not just noodles. We've got our Congee range, which we're launching shortly, which is like a savory rice porridge, Oriental style. Yeah. So that launches very shortly as well, and they'll be going into the kiosks and retail and so on around the world.
Wow, I can never keep up with everything you're doing, and that's literally in half an hour. Everything that you probably haven't even scratched the surface either, have we?
There's more we can talk about another time.
Indeed. And how about just to finish off, because I'm aware taking up nearly an hour of your time, Damien, and you're there with your family, so you got to hit the road soon and enjoy the rest of that European countryside there. But any time to get on the bike?
All the time. I don't get in the car. I love my motorbikes, and I've got a new one coming. So as soon as I get back to the UK, I keep calling my bike guy, Colin, every day. How's it going? And he's like, would you stop calling me? And I'm like, just enjoy your holiday. And I just want to know how my new bike's going. I've got a new Indian coming. So
an Indian,
yeah.
Awesome. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to let you crack on and enjoy your holiday. I've taken up too much of it already. We'll be putting this out on Screw It, Just Do It podcast. I posted up yesterday randomly. We're #1 in the Democratic Republic of Congo as of today. So you need to get some noodles out there.
Wow.
How random is that? We've now had #1 in Kenya, Uganda, and the Congo. So clearly need to do a world tour of Africa very soon.
Amazing. Great to speak to you always, Alex. So
you too. Love to the family and enjoy the rest of your trip, buddy. Catch you when you get back.
Bye.
See you later. Bye-bye.